In this video, we're going to be reviewing Saw X. Straight out of the gate, I really liked it, 7.5 out of 10. When I left the cinema, I didn't know how to feel, because the Saw formula had been changed up from the rest of the films, but on reflection, this was to the movie's credit. Usually there's 3 plot lines in a Saw film. One for the ones being tested, one for the police investigation, and one for the killer. These 2 or 3 plots generally meet at the end of the film, and then there's a big revelation, a twist happens, and it all comes together. Saw X has changed this fundamental Saw formula. It's just one simple storyline following John Kramer after being scammed, and that is it. Great. I still personally think they gave way too much of the story away in the trailer, but I still enjoyed the ride in the cinema. In the first half of the film, we have all of the characters being built up and developed, giving the characters a bit of weight. I found myself rooting for one of the people in the traps, Gabriella. I don't think I've ever done that in a Saw film. Prior to this film, the other Saw films have just been, oh, it's another person that's just showing up in a trap and they're being tortured now. And I remember how they die and how they're killed. I don't remember their name.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
I just remember the trap and the kill. Saw X changes that, which is nice and a refreshing direction Saw probably needed to go in to breathe life into the franchise after its last installment.
And I've got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Yeah, less said about that one the better. With this more character-driven plot, we may have the first real antagonist from John's point of view, personified in the character Cecilia. Now, I know usually in the Saw films, it's the police trying to catch him, interrogate him, etc, etc. But that's the police. It's an organisation. It's not a single character. And Cecilia delivers that. She's the head of the scam, and she gets her own villain arc and her own little villain speech at the end. Look at that.
Well done, Mr. Powers. We're not so different, you and I.
We've never seen that before in a Saw film. And yes, while Cecilia's the antagonist to the already evil John Kramer, the back of my mind, the stakes were always quite low because I knew that he gets another 2 movies. He dies in Saw 3.
In the arms of the angel.
Remember that?
Oh, I didn't.
Even with that in mind, it was still cool to see John Kramer or the Jigsaw Killer struggle in the early days of the Jigsaw killings. And with this struggle, you don't ever really see John Kramer putting himself face to face in the same room with the victims like he does in this film. It feels a lot more intimate and personal between the characters, which is kind of cool. I know in Saw 1 he's hiding in plain sight, but he's still not talking and interacting with them. Maybe this influenced his method later on, in the later installments, where he doesn't get too face to face with the victims, which is kind of cool. I think in this one the kill count was pretty low. I counted 4 or 5 depending if you wanted to count the guy in the car outside of the rock club that Valentina gets kidnapped at. But even with a low kill count, all of the traps are really gory and really good, and they were filmed really well. There wasn't a load of flash cuts that we saw in previous Saw films.
Did you wash your ass today?
And you pretty much see everything in these traps, and they're cool and they're really well done. I think my favourite trap was probably Valentina's trap with the wires. Take the leg, get the heads, and etc. That was really cool. And the aftermath of it was a bloody mess. Let's just leave it at that. The effects team absolutely smashed it over there, and oh my god, it looked so bloody.
Wanted these traps to work more mechanically in real life than we've ever done before.
But again, I think this lower body count serves the plot better in this kind of Saw film with like a single track story with more character development. It's cool. That, and I think 3 people survived in the traps, depending on how you want to look at it, which is way more than I thought would have happened. Considering this film is between Saw 1 and 2, I was in a mindset of there will be no loose ends, and everyone will die.
You are all going to die tonight.
Quite a strange choice at the ending. The one that you want to die the most survives their trap, which is kind of like, what? And in the traps that actually get people, everyone is so close to actually making it out. If they would have had like a couple more seconds, these people would have got out, which really showcased off all of the traps, showed them beginning to end, which was really, really cool for a viewing audience member. One of the earlier victims who survived, I thought he was going to come back later and provide the big dun 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 plot twist. And yeah, we never saw him again.
Bye, have a beautiful time.
which I thought was a bit of a wasted opportunity, but oh well, we move on. Guys, I'm going to go into spoilers now. Skip to this timestamp if you want to avoid them. So the two big twists of the film were quite weak in my opinion, and I thought I could see them coming from a mile away. When Parker was waving the gun around and when he was knocked out, the camera pans to Amanda putting the gun away in front of him very purposefully, and then the line "no guns" was said like 15 times. And I was like, dude, they've tampered with the gun. That is your test. But I didn't see him being together with Cecilia though, even though in hindsight it absolutely makes sense. The blood waterboarding idea was really cool, but I also did think, why is John and Amanda letting it get this far? Like, they're completely in control of this situation to a degree, so why don't they just control it? I don't know, strange. I really liked that John was willing to sacrifice himself for the kid, because the kid hadn't done anything wrong. So it was cool to see him stick by his philosophy of not being a murderer and just testing people, allowing people to save themselves. When Amanda was dubious about testing Gabriella because they're both addicts, I thought that was a really nice little touch, and you can see Amanda hesitating, and you could also see little parts of the film that she's still very ruthless and just wants to flat out murder some people, and you can see that growing in her, which is a really solid bit of writing to keep in with that character. Then when Cecilia and Parker were in the room, I just thought to myself, hurry up, you're playing yourself right now, get your things and go. And if they would have been a bit quicker, they would have got out there, the door wouldn't have shot on them, and then they got gassed. In my personal opinion, I thought that room, that trap, was the weakest trap of them all. I think it would have been cooler to see John's main antagonist to go through something a bit more visceral, because he doesn't have issues with that.
No! No! What is this? What are you doing?
But yeah, fighting for the oxygen hole with the guy that she's sleeping with, I just didn't really feel that the tension was there. At least not for me. So they're the major differences between Saw X and pretty much the rest of the series. I just want to say, I usually rip into films dredging up old intellectual properties for easy and quick money.
This is Sparta!
This film earned a fair amount of money so far. Good on it. However, this film takes the idea of the Saw films. It continues the legacy, makes a sequel, it expands, changes, develops, and evolves the original idea into something different, rather than just copy and pasting it to imitate what it already was. Because we've already had like 9 films like that. We don't need another one. So it's nice to see that Saw X have kind of done something different. And let's face it, let's just compare Saw X to Spiral. Spiral literally copied and pasted generic Saw movie patterns, had a political message.
Fuck the police coming straight from the underground. You serious?
Statement attached to it, and it just come off terribly. I mean, I went to rewatch Spiral recently, and me and my partner turned it off like 20 minutes in.
Hello, Detective Banks.
I imagine if we rewatched Saw X, we'd probably watch it the whole way through without feeling like we're being dragged through it. Why is that? Because I believe that Saw X is just better for all of the above reasons that I've just mentioned. It respects the source material, it's not preachy, it's adapted, and it's evolved the idea of how Saw films run, so it's not stale for audiences that have already seen and are familiar with the Saw franchise. And more importantly, I haven't mentioned this because everybody's harping on about it, it gives Tobin Bell as John Kramer a spotlight to shine. This is the most screen time in any Saw I think he has had, and it works massively to this movie's credit. It's solid. I think this film is going to be the closest thing we ever get to a character study of John Kramer, and it's great. It's well done. Moving forward, would I be happier if Saw had fewer kills, better traps, better characters, better plot? I think I would. But you can only flog the same horse so long until it gets stale. This is why kind of after Saw 6, everything kind of melds into one thing in my brain. And yeah, maybe they find new interesting styles to create the Saw franchise movies in, or other horror films. It doesn't just have to be Saw. Take an idea and evolve it. Don't just copy and paste it and slap CG on it and say it's better. So yeah, that was my review of Saw X. Great film. Again, 7.5 out of 10. If you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like, subscribe. If you want to start a discussion, let me know. Speak to me in the comments. I do chat back. Thanks again for spending your time with me. I really appreciate it. Cheers, and don't forget to like and subscribe.